If you want drama, my rule is no drama, but if you want drama today, you're going to get drama. I'm just saying, I expect it from Barbara Tapp. What are you going to do today, Barbara?
Eric, I'm actually going to take a very complicated scene, a couple of them, and I'm going to uh, ease out of it a storyline so that then I can simplify my shapes and then focus on the focal point and talk about that instead of all the chaos.
Okay, so you're going to take chaos and simplify it.
Yes.
Okay. And you're going to be doing a watercolor demo, or you're going to do pencil drawing? What are you going to do?
This is going to be a lot of drawing.
Okay,
and then
good.
I'll show one little bit of wash with my blue shapes.
Okay.
And then at the end, if I have enough time, I've got a painting that I might do some lifting on.
Okay. So this could really, this lesson could work for an oil painter, an acrylic painter, watercolorist, gouache, anything.
Yes.
All right, good. Well, let's get this show started.
Okay.
Okay.
I'm just setting up my setup.
All right. Looks good to me.
Great. Okay. So can I work away now?
Okay.
So, Eric, here I have a very interesting scene that was taken in Sausalito. It's a photograph of Sausalito.
And looks like houseboats.
It is houseboats. It is, which is unusual in itself and unique to Sausalito. So the problem was that I wanted to paint this area, but at the same time, I could not focus on anything. It was too much chaos. There was a building here, a houseboat here, then another houseboat, and all this. So my lesson today is isolating some focal point in a complicated vision that you have the desire to paint, and isolating that and then building a story around it. So this is all about building a story, because that's the sort of thing I like to do. Right. So how about we start off with what I do. So first thing you have to do is make a decision of whether this is going to be a horizontal painting, a rectangular painting, or a square painting. You look across, this is what I do, is I look across the scene and I try to isolate something that I could build my story upon. And believe it or not, in this very mixed area here, even though this is centered, there is a dinghy. Well, we call them dinghies, you call them dinghies, but it's a dinghy. And I think I'm going to build my story around that little dinghy that's there.
People call me a diggy sometimes.
Oh, that's a dingbat.
Oh, dingbat.
Yes.
You didn't have to confirm. You didn't have to confirm that, Barbara.
Oh, so,
now everybody knows my secrets.
That you're a dingbat?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's usually a thing about behavior too, that you behave like a dingbat. So I just divide my paper up here. I've decided that it is going to be a rectangular format.
All right.
I can make a decision here of whether I'm going to make this about the sky or whether I'm going to make this about the water. The one thing about the water is there's some really wonderful shapes here that will be then broken by the reflections that come through. If people know anything about the principles of good design, if you make yourself a grid like this.
Tic-tac-toe board.
Yeah, it is a tic-tac-toe. But if you can hit your focal point at any of these quadrants here, bisecting things, then that's an ideal place in which to start your focal point, and then your eye will go round the actual shape back and into there. So that's my thought concept. The other thing is that you need to have intent about what you're painting about. And I want to paint about the location. It's very important. I want to establish that this is a place not in a harbor, but it's in a place where there are houseboats. Okay, so I'm going to start here. I've got some very direct perspective lines that are going to help me work my way through to where the boat is. The boat I'm going to allocate and move over into this section here. This is my initial sketch. This will be done in a sketchbook. It can be as vague and as nothing is precise at this point. And I will establish the perspective lines that will direct your eye towards that focal point. In analysis of this, I look for strong elements that will suggest what this location is about. And the pylons are very important.
Why?
Remember,
Why are they important?
because they speak boats and anchorage and docks. So, and then also the form of them is a very clear architectural form. So there will be strength, and they're isolated. So I can paint an image around them. They're cylindrical, which most of this is not. It's all, so it's a good contrasting element.
They also give you perspective.
They give me perspective. That's right. So my perspective line is going there. My vanishing point is out here. My horizon is out in this section here. So make that a little bit darker. So I want a lead in. So my lead in is going to be, I'm going to put my first pylon in here. And then I'm going to run a perspective line back, and I'm going to bring a dock back into here, and I'm going to step the dock back into this section. Remember, I'm just feeling the shapes, feeling directions. I'm not doing anything specific. And I'm thinking to myself, I'm going to increase that. This is my lead in. I want a nice little, I'm looking at my positive and negative shape. This is going to be a negative shape. I'm thinking about how I'm going to paint this. So I've got another pylon here. I'm going to take this back, and then I'm going to bring this building that's actually in that section there. So I have another edge to look through. Everything I'm doing is working towards presenting my story, which is this little dinghy that's sitting, that's used, you know, you could expand it by saying, oh my goodness, the boat is attached to a yacht that's somewhere, or somebody's come in to buy their groceries. A lot of different things. I'm trying to open up your thought to, or the viewer's thoughts to, what this could possibly be about. Now, I don't like the shape of that building. You edit things out. So I'm going to make, I want this to be of interest as a shape. So I'm going to, because I've had a lot of experience with architecture, I can sort of play around with things. So the building's going to come in here. There's going to be a roof line here. I don't need to be specific in placing the windows. I don't have to follow that formula. But if I just allocate them at this stage, I know that I've got a facade here that's going to be punctuated with some dark, smaller window shapes. And then I'm also, because again, I want to use some perspective lines, I'm going to put in here window, or let's say it could be a patio door in there. And then my imagination says to me, well, wouldn't it be lovely if I had flowers all through there? So reds and greens. I'm thinking of how I'm going to paint this. I'm thinking of, here's my sunlight. Even though the sunlight is shown, this whole thing is bleached out with not many shadows. You know, I'm the shadow queen because of my video on shadows. I love to think of where my shadows might be if I were to change where the sun was coming in. So I'm going to go further in here and put another dock in there. Big shape. So now there's a shape leading me through to here. And then I want to wrap the water. I'm making a decision. I want to take the water so that the viewer will think to themselves, oh my goodness, the waterway continues through at the back in here. It's so fun. It's such a creative part of, this is studio work. I do this in the field. I actually will edit things out to make my story. But here I am in the studio, so I'm getting more time to spend to do this. So now the building, you want variation. So in the positive and negative space, so there's a negative space in here. I'm going to bring this building in here. These are all little decisions that I'm making as I go, and then shorten it here and use some more pylons. Now, that could be a problem where it's lined up. So I might want to shift that when I when I do the actual painting. And then I've got some nice dark shapes in here. You don't have to be specific in this. I know I've got buildings. I'm thinking again, painting that shape, painting this shape, painting this shape, this shape. I'm going to bring that back, and I'm going to put in the distance. The water goes all the way through to here. There's also a hill shape in the back, so that gives me far away perspective. Then this is going to be a mishmash of colors. I'm going to throw a boat hull in here so that I get the viewer can look through.
You have a vivid imagination.
Yeah, and then I haven't even got to my little dinghy. So my dinghy is actually, and I'm making a decision here. I'm going to draw my little dinghy. So I'm looking into it. That's the stern of it. I'm pointing it towards here because nobody really probably knows the word painter, but the painter is the line that goes from the bow and ties on to the, to the land. I'm going to, again, I can do as many details in this sketch, but when I go to paint, I don't necessarily have to put them in. But what I want to do is I want to suggest, and if anyone knows boating, I'm going to do a two-liner thing to it, and then possibly I'll do a cleat there. I'll do a line in here. Now, why do you think the painters and the lines are loose and slack? It's because the tide is high.
I don't know.
It's because the tide is high. So when the tide drops, the boat will then move closer to here and be tight. The water will drop down. So I'm suggesting somebody who's a boating person would know this, that, well, why are the lines slack? Oh, tide must be in. And I have to be consistent, but that's my storytelling. I'm allowed to do things like that. So I've done all this. Now I'm going to actually analyze of where I want the sun to be. So sun I'm pushing over here. I'm going to throw all of these into shadow. So let me see here. I want to change that bit of architecture there. So shadow there. So light on this facade. Very, very good solid light there that will work opposite where my little boat is. This is in shadow, so I can throw in some windows. Suggest that they're going to be windows in through there. I've got my pylons. There'll be light coming in here. So I have light on the stern of the little boat. And the last thing I do in my planning is check my reflections. So there's reflections that come off the pylons. There'll be a very strong.
Oh, she disappeared. Oh, she's back.
Oh, I disappeared?
Yep.
Oh, yes, I didn't go anywhere. I wonder why that would have happened. So anyway, I'm just putting in the reflections here. Be accurate when you've got a shape like that the lines for the reflections follow the shape of the boat. So this will be in shadow. That's going to be in shadow. The inside of the boat's going to be in shadow. The pylon down here is going to be there. There'll be a reflection from the actual dockyard. So anyway, so that's my preliminary sketch. And then I can go around and I can write on the edge here things like slack lines. I can say sun moved. I can look at the intensity of my water. Maybe I want my water to be darker, closer to me. And then as it gets lighter, I can make a decision about that. So I'll write down move, light through painting. So now I'm going to move to another stage.
Okay, I'll tell you what. Why don't you tell us what you're going to do next, and then we'll get the official start going.
Okay. Well, what I'm going to do next is show you a painting that has the shadows painted onto it.
Okay. Well, just wait, and we'll be right back.
Okay.
It's Art School Live with Eric Rhodes. Now, here's your host, Eric Rhodes.
Hey there. I'm Eric. I'm the publisher of Fine Art Connoisseur Plein Air magazine, about 5 or 6 newsletters in the art world. I just love art, and I'm trying to get more people to love art and to convince them that they can do it. You see, I believe no talent is required. I believe anyone can learn it, and this is what this show is about. And then we have lots of other things we do to help you learn art too. Anyway, thanks for tuning in today. You can subscribe to this program on YouTube. We're here every weekday at 12 noon, and all you got to do is go to YouTube and hit the subscribe button. All right. Now, next, what have I got? Well, our guest today is Barbara Tapp, and Barbara is a fabulous painter, fabulous watercolor, a great instructor. And if you want to learn about painting architecture, there's nobody better on earth, because Barbara has made her living as an architectural illustrator. There are maybe a couple others that are as good, but she's pretty incredible. And Barbara has a video out with us, and it's called Watercolor Method, Barbara Tapp's Watercolor Method. And she actually is going to tell us a little bit about how she changed after a life of watercolor, how she changed to a different method. She'll tell us about that later. That's available on PaintTube, painttube.tv. Don't use .com. It's some weird site somewhere. Use PaintTube. All right. We have coming up the Christmas Spectacular of Art School Live on Thursday, the 21st at noon. And it's bound to go a couple of hours. So put the time aside. We've got 40 prizes worth over $5,000. We're giving the Christmas gifts to you. We have I think we've got about 7 instructors lined up, and we're going to be doing some very unique things. We're going to be doing portraits of Santa Claus, and we're going to be doing winterscapes, and we want you to paint along with us. So we want you to be prepared. But we have 5, 6 different artists painting the same subjects over the course of the show. And you don't want to miss that. Okay, so that's on Thursday. We also have coming up is Watercolor Live, which is our big January worldwide conference. And this is the 4th annual, hard to believe, and coming up with some of the top masters in the world teaching. We'll tell you more about that in the future. Again, if you want to subscribe to the show, YouTube, Art School Live, search Eric Rhodes. Okay, now back to Barbara Tapp. Here we go, Barbara.
Hey, Eric. So now I want to show you, this is pretty much the theory of my putting my darks in first. So this also becomes like a value study as well, but this is the beginning of how I would start a painting. And in this case, I actually changed this idea here and put a boat in here because I wanted to re-emphasize the relationship, the story of the way that people are able to hop from their houses straight into the water. So it makes it a little bit more interesting. I wanted to just show also that in this case, I didn't finish this, but the building in the far distance, I could take, I have Naples yellow here, and I did this yesterday. I want to show that you can add the color to the over the blue, and it creates, it's still in shadow, but it actually creates the color, the main color of what the building is like, particularly when you get to the front of the building here. You can see that it's it's really a Naples yellow building rather than just a blue shape. I actually discovered this, I have to say, doing Watercolor Live 2 years ago when I was watching Tom Lynch give a demonstration, and I'd been puzzling over plein air painting outdoors and getting to a certain point. Well, the initial appeal in the field for me is I love to see form and shadow. And you started painting at 9 o'clock in the morning, and at 12 o'clock when you're trying to finish the whole thing, those shadows have gone away. And I got very frustrated about it. But anyway, listening to Tom Lynch, it wasn't necessarily what he was doing at the time. You start to think, so Watercolor Live gives you so many opportunities to see a lot of different painting techniques and a lot of different painters and their thoughts and what they're doing. So this was for me an accumulation of thoughts in my mind, watching him not connect his colors together. So for instance, if I were to put in, let's say I'm going to do the browns in here of the dock, he would leave a space. Now you have to imagine that this is all wet. So he would leave a space between here and there. And based on that sort of simple idea, I thought, well, if I put all my darks in first, I can paint the rest of the painting. And the darks won't run into all the new color that I'm putting in. And I can get this information down right at the beginning and then at the end. So for instance, if I want to put a dark, it doesn't have to be the blue. You're not stuck to the blue anymore. I can actually paint over the blue objects and yet I've still got my maximum contrast. I guess it is a theory about having your darkest value and your lightest value right straight from the beginning. And it becomes a much more exciting approach to your painting. Anyway, so I'm just going to show you here quickly about putting in, at this stage, some of the shadows, which then...
Squiggles.
Yeah, they're the squiggles of because water moves. So yeah, the water does move. So I'm going to put this in here.
Barbara, you have guests watching from Seoul, Korea today, from Yorkshire, England. If you guys are watching, make sure you tell us where you're watching from.
Oh, that's nice. That's really, really good.
Oh, I forgot to say something too. Somebody pointed it out in the comments. We have a prize. If you're watching today and you want to win a prize, today's prize is my book. And my book is called Make More Money Selling Your Art. You have an opportunity to win that book today just by putting a comment in the comments section, and we will randomly pick from the comments on live and replay. All right. And the winner of the prize from last prize was Cheryl Chamberlain in Woodinville, Washington. All right, Barbara, sorry to interrupt you.
No, that's okay. You've got business to do, right?
I have no business. I have no business doing business.
You have no business doing business. All right. I'm just running here some washes on the top in here and around so that I'm actually now bringing to life the scene. But I don't intend to sort of finish this. It's just sort of showing you how you can work around those dark shapes and incorporate your washes into the actual scene. So I'm just using dirty water at this point.
Love that dirty water.
Yeah, this is Hahnemuhl paper, which I love. And then I'm going to put a marine in here down the bottom. So there's a light. Now I want that to be light, and I want this area to be light as well. So this is a turquoise building. I don't actually have a turquoise in my palette at the moment, so I get to choose. I can change it to no, I don't want to do it as a boring brown. Do I want it as a pink house?
But you make it turquoise.
I don't have a turquoise.
You don't have
Oh
the
no,
color?
you know what? You know what? I'll take marine, blue, turquoise, and I will add green gold into it. Well, it's turning into a green building, a green color. Well,
All right.
that's good. It's got color in it. So I remember I was going to do flowers and things all in there. Well, that's what we'll do. But this is not the point of why I'm doing this. It's just to fill in the scene and sort of show you how you could finish. Oh, I know what I'll do. Make it a yellow building.
Valerie Fairbanks is asking, do you let the darks dry first before adding color over it?
I paint, I put the darks in first, and I don't necessarily let them dry. I like to work around them. That's where I leave that little gap. If you come and watch Essentials Day, you'll see what I do, because that's something that in my painting that I do, you can actually see
You're teaching
why
on
I
Essentials
leave
Day
the
on
little.
Watercolor Live?
I beg your pardon?
You're teaching on Essentials Day on Watercolor Live.
I am indeed. Yes,
All right.
I am. All right. So now I know that I can make, this is the little boat that's in here. And I can show you that you paint over with your mother color. And there's the shadow, which has gone darker. I love that. That's just brilliant, the way that happens. And then I'm going to put my brown in here. Putting the dark shadows in first has really opened a new door to new colors. Colors that I didn't have to mix or make. It happens on the paper. So here I'm going to put a brown over the top. It's pretty. It doesn't matter if it drowns out the blue, because the blue is just a guide so that you have your darkest darks right from the start in watercolor, which is not what we normally do. So here I'm going to put this in darker.
You probably heard me say this last week, but I have, since I got back from Europe, I have become a
doing
full-time
a lot of
watercolor artist.
Yes, I did hear that.
I have just been obsessed with watercolor lately, and I'm having so much fun. Somebody said in the comments, it's magical. It really is. You can do so much with it. And I just love that I don't have to deal with all the cleanup, and it's just so much easier.
Yeah, but even here, we've got the water now running into the marine blue here. It's those sorts of unpredictable things that happen in watercolor that make it exciting, dynamic. Now, here's something I want to show. This is part of what I wanted to talk about today, is that dealing with that, I did not create that. The paper did it itself. And for me, that is part of the lure of why I love working with watercolor. I want to lift here. Okay, you start to get choices that you can do. So I can lift, that's the pylon. I can lift that where it was running into the back there. I can take a tissue if I want to, and I can just, if this is turning out to be too dark, and I've decided that actually I want the pylon to be a darker, I lifted there.
I use makeup Q-tips to do that. They make these special Q-tips for makeup that have different shapes, points and squares. They're pretty cool.
Well, you should see. I picked up some incredible. I can't show them to you because I don't have them out. They're in an envelope, but I just purchased some old Japanese calligraphy brushes, and they're really extraordinary. I wish I had the time to show you. So anyway, here now I'm on the basis of what was originally my blue shadows. I'm now deepening these to darker shadows, and Eric, the value of that is that I'm in the field. I'm doing a competition. The light has changed. I've been 3 hours putting all this background and everything into my painting, and I know that that's where the shadows are. And I can't say how what a great asset it is being able to do that. I mean, I was always envious of oil painters who could do that. So here's another one, and then this doesn't have to be as dark. And then the little boat hull, maybe we can make it blue. Just on that side, and then a line at the bottom. Okay, that's enough of that one. But you can see from that scene, I mean, can you see that scene came from that?
Yep.
That was all right. I chose to do another one. This one's super complicated. And again, go in there and you make a decision. Is it going to be a rectangle or is it going to be a square? I looked at this and I said, what is it about this? What's my intent? Well, the calm and the shapes.
I'll tell you what, Barbara, since this is going to be really in depth and I don't want to interrupt it, I'm just going to play something right now for everybody. We'll be right back with you.
Sounds good to me. Okay.
Well, we're back. We have had thousands of people attend Watercolor Live. This is the 4th annual one coming. And it's kind of like boot camp, right? Like it's 4 intense days, 3 days, unless you do beginner's day or essentials day where Barbara's teaching, then it's 4 days. It's like intense. Now, a lot of people can't do that, right? Because you've got jobs and family. That's why we offer replays, right? You get replays automatically when you sign up. And you, of course, can get bigger replay packages if you want to do that. But that way you can go back and check, and up to a year on replays, go back and check and look at things as you learn and remember. I have devoted my entire last part of my life, last 20 years, to trying to demystify painting. When I started painting, it was so difficult. Everybody made it difficult. The teachers I studied with made it difficult. And then one guy opened my eyes. He said, no, it's simple. Just do this. Anybody can learn this. And it was like, man, the light went off. And so I have devoted my time to developing things that will help have you make better experiences, better watercolors, better oil paintings, better everything. And Watercolor Live is one of those experiences. We want to connect you with a positive environment, a family where the people are there for one another. They're there to encourage you. Nobody is allowed to discourage you or to critique you in a negative way. We want to learn, we want to grow, but if somebody gets negative, we shut them down right away because we do not want that. This is a positive environment. So anybody can learn to paint. And even if you look at the painters and you go, I don't know how I could ever possibly do that. If you stick with this, it will sink in. It's so powerful. I told Barbara, I'm doing a lot of watercolors lately. And a lot of the reason is because it's been sinking in because I've watched and hosted Watercolor Live 3 other times now. And so when it sinks in, you sit down to do it, and all of a sudden you're remembering techniques that somebody taught you, and you didn't even remember them until you ran into a problem, and that problem was solved for you. So anyway, we hope that you'll consider coming. Barbara Tapp, you're back.
Okay.
All right. And so you attended Watercolor Live. You redesigned how you paint because of it. But I've got a quick question for you. You know, people can look at YouTube videos on how to watercolor paint. People can look at Art School Live every day for free. Why on earth would you or anybody else pay to attend something like Watercolor Live?
I'm actually somebody who doesn't really take workshops, and one is the time. I can't just sort of look ahead and do that. So being in the comfort of my own home and doing an intensive like this, it's like picking up a magazine, and you get so many different articles and so many different exposures to things. It's not just watching one or two of your favorite painters. It's actually watching many different painters. So it's broadening your scope and your thoughts. But I do love the fact that I can walk away from it, and I can actually watch the replays, and I like the interaction. I've met a lot of people through attending not only I go to Realism Live and I go to Plein Air Live. I really look forward to it because I know I will grow in my vision in the comfort of my home. And I think it has a lot to do with the fact that it is at home, and I can get a drink at a time, and I can, it's a smorgasbord. I mean, it's a feast, and it's much more manageable than me actually doing just one thing. So I don't know. I love it. I really love
I
it. And
think
look
one of the
forward to
things
it.
about, you mentioned something, and one of the things I discovered, I have a tendency to say, oh, I want to see what Barbara Tapp does, or I want to see what John Salmonen does, or
Yeah.
somebody famous, and then I'll watch somebody that I didn't hear of before. Maybe it's
Yes.
one of our painters from another country, and then it's like, oh, I'm so glad I watched that, because you get unexpected surprises.
It's so true, Eric. Amit Kapoor is one person that I really didn't know, unless you buy art magazines. Mario, I wish I could think of his last name.
Robinson.
Portraiture. I get a much better exposure to the breadth of art, as well as those artists that I don't know. So it's a Pandora's box, but it's a Pandora's box with its only rewards.
Okay. Thank you for that.
Mm-hmm. Okay, can I quickly go back to this and show you how are we doing for time, by the way?
You're fine. You have you could take probably another 20 minutes, 15, let's say 15 to be safe.
Okay, all right. So let me get to this. So I'm looking at this, and I am so overwhelmed with all the paraphernalia, chaos, all the bits and pieces, the ups and the downs, and all this sort of thing. I'm also not convinced about these two shadow shapes, which are really dramatic and wonderful. But my brain says to me, where's the relationship to where those shadows are coming? Well, logic says to me, oh, it's over here. Now, I'm directly interpreting this photograph. I would be a lot more distracted. Sorry, I just moved my camera. I'd be a lot more distracted by everything else that was going on around here. So this is nothing about those shadows. What it is the wonderful relationship between, and I immediately come up with a title, and I'm going to call it Big Sister, Little Sister. Boats are often female names, actually, or referred to in the female tense. And so here we have this absolutely precious little dinghy, another dinghy. And in relationship to this yacht, we have this houseboat over here. I'm making a decision that these are going to be my focal points. So here's my little, I'm going to draw around this. This is a slightly different process to what I used before. But I know that I want to support in my drawing and thinking about how I'm going to paint this and the big shapes, of how I'm going to sell this. This line here is very important in establishing scale. So, you know, I do architectural rendering and everything. I try to find in a composition or in a landscape or a view some vertical line that will establish the scale that every single thing is going to relate back to. That's a very simple perspective lesson. So scale, you find something that has a height and it's vertical. Doesn't matter if it's just slightly crooked because it's a bow, you know, it's coming forwards towards you. You use that and every single thing else relates to it in scale. And I use a dot system so that I plot my line work. If I'm going to be drawing, if I want to do something accurately, this dimension here is bigger, larger than that. The perspective line is going that way and that way, right? And this is many multiple perspective lines that are going all over the place. Anyway, so this is going to be my star. So you have your star and then everything else is going to be supporting around it. And I'm looking for the big shape. So I'm going to get this down as fast as I can. I like to join things together. This design is going to be what I call a ribbon design, meaning that it's quite well balanced. This language is going to happen in here. And then the sea is going to happen in here, or the harbor is going to happen in here, and then the sky is going to come in here. And I love that. Sometimes you can do a ribbon that's down the center and you can have a set of trees in a building and it's supported by the right and the left side. This is going to be supported equally by the top and the bottom. It's well balanced. So I'm going to join my shapes together. I'm looking at shadows. I know my sun is coming from this side and I'm going to expand this. I don't want to put that boat cramming it in. I want to bring your vision to this. I'm going to use this shape here of this boat to reinforce bringing my eye back into this little focal point. You can paint this exquisitely. If you're a painter who loves to do really delicate, fine, accurate work, this can be very accurately painted. And then the rest of it can be much more impressionistic. I'm going to establish where the rest of the water is. This is the horizon line at the back. And this building here is not a pleasant shape to me. So I'm going to make an aesthetic value and I'm going to simplify. I want to use it as a leading edge. So it means that your eye goes to here and then it goes around. And I'm going to change this into an angle and I'm going to put it in a shadow. And so here, it's like theater. I'm a set designer and I'm creating a set for a movie. So I can play shapes off each other and I can play shadows off each other so that the eye goes through this whole thing. It's very exciting. And then you've got the background area. Again, I'm thinking of, doesn't have to be specific. This is a sketch to tell me, to inform me about the location and design and how I'm going to paint this whole thing. So I'm thinking big shapes. Here's going to be a light value, which is the sky. And I can choose whether to put this in the morning, afternoon, whatever time of day I want, but it's going to be a light sky at the back. I'm not being specific, but I know that I'm going to put my buildings in here in a soft tone. However, there are some really wonderful shadows in here. So I'll highlight just to tell me, to remind myself that I've got form, and that will add interest to the scene, but it will also lead my eye past the boats and into the background and give me some sense of location. They're in the distance, they should be softer. Now, all of this language, forget about it. Doesn't mean anything. It's just color and shape and color and shape. There is one element I also, the further you look into a scene. You will discover things. Things will reveal themselves. There are some really wonderful pylons. So how about I say to myself, well, there are pylons in this scene. This is this dock. The dock goes back. What happens if I do a leading forward pylon that's not attached? How does that affect my design? I know I'm going to have a very strong shadow in here, and I like that. And I'm thinking, oh, well, maybe I'll go through and I'll put another one in lesser. It's diminishing, it's going back, so it's larger, closer to you. It's also going to be a form that's well defined. This can be less than, then this can be less than, and then maybe this can be less than in the back in here. Now I'm going to look at darker shapes. So with my pencil, can you see the pencil well, Eric?
Yep. Yes, absolutely.
Okay. So I'm now going to put in some detail that helps when I'm going to be painting this to pay attention to. And one of the things is you can notice I've put no rigging in. I will probably paint the same. The process will probably be the same way that I'm drawing this. So I might have just put that shadow in right at the beginning, and it's going to have warmth in it because it's a white boat, right? So it'll be a blue, a pale blue. This will be a very, very pale, pale blue. This will stay white. That's going to be my whitest, lightest area in the whole painting. All of the rest of it is going to have some tone to it, but that won't be, because that's going to lead your eye to there, and then you'll find this little gem so that you remember the relationship, the title. So then I come into and I look at where there may be some color forms, and there's a wonderful color form of the cover on the boom on the boat. And I know I want to have that there, and it's going to repeat itself down in here. So I'm not actually going to I don't want to put my reflections in at this point. I just want to work out the relationships. There's a dark shadow in here. I might put a window. This is a little shortcut way that a lot of us painters and architectural renderers will put windows in. It's where you draw an outline and then you cast, this is the top of the window, and you cast the light down there. Do you know that?
Yep.
Those shortcuts, and then
Yep.
you got a door and the shadows coming on that side. The door is here, and then you do maybe the panels, like that. Anyway,
So we have a question from Mimi Lulu, which I assume is a grandmother title. I'm not sure. Hi from Durham, North Carolina. Question for Barbara: when thinking about storytelling, does she ever change the light direction?
Yes. I always changed light direction to suit myself, to suit the story. Again, think back to stage and theater and lights on sets. The more dramatic that you have the light coming from a certain direction, you can emphasize elements of your painting. So
Okay.
yeah, I do move the light around. And in this case, there's no light in here. I mean, I'm going to leave the hulls clean because I actually like their forms. I want their forms to pop. They're not popping as much because of all this chaos that's all
Busyness,
around the
yeah.
whole thing.
Hello, Norway. Welcome. I'm going to come and paint in Norway.
So now I'm going to actually just suggest the coach houses on the boats as a form. I know there's going to be a dark. Eric, I start at some point in my painting process, once I've got these darks down, remember they're all going to be blues, looking for even darker darks. And I call it my, oh golly, I can't think of it. I mean, a blank, but I put them in. So I'm starting to see some really wonderful darks in here. And I have to think about that, I want to put those in later. So I might just at the side here go to remind myself that I want to check out where those are going to be in the painting at the end. Anyway, so now I'm going through and I will think about where my rigging and all of those sorts of things will come in. Where the masks are going to be, this one will be a lighter mask. All the time I'm thinking about painting. How am I going to paint this? So in the process, I've gone and put a light wash here, my darks in here, there'll be a wash in here, there'll be a wash in here, and only when I've got those in do I go and put any of the rigging in, and I'll do it with a rigger brush, which is I don't have one here. I have a rigger brush somewhere. I have so many brushes, it's crazy, but of course I can't put my finger on a rigger.
Well, it's because you don't have a easel brush clip right there.
Oh, no, I don't. That's the rigger brush.
Yes.
So it's very long and thin. No, you don't. The easel brush clip is used outdoors, not here.
Oh, well, that's your big mistake. Yeah, I have one in my studio. Actually, I have two in my studio and one outdoors.
Ah, okay.
I buy 3
right.
packs.
So now I'm going to put in my bow here. This will be a light source. This will be in shadow. And what that does is it pops out the little boat. And suddenly you're getting a play and perspective because it's floating on top. And those sorts of, they're kind of little mini rewards that you get as you draw through the scene, and the more that you're looking at it, that becomes evident. Change the direction of your drawing so that you see variation in your line work. That's a nice punctuation of this space in here. And then there's going to be some really good little punctuations of rigging and stuff going through here. All right, now, so I'm not going to paint this. Well, I could run maybe a wash.
Oh, do a little painting. You got a little time.
Okay, so I'll put some, well, I need to just clean my water, if you don't mind. Just gone. I love the dirty water. Oh, here's a little tip also. I use, these are little Tupperware things, and I use a very tiny bit amount of water. So I'm changing my water constantly, but it's brought the intensity of my paintings out enormously. This is a cobalt blue that I'm using. These are sketchbooks. I love these. Oh, here's a good tip for anyone who's going to do the live. So that's too dark. I've got two thoughts going in my mind. Sorry, Eric. So I'm going to lift that, and then I'm going to add.
It must be a very special place inside your mind.
Yeah, it is. It's good company. So I actually just put the blue down, and now I've toned the blue. So don't just be limited in thinking that when I say I use the blue shapes, you start off using the blue shapes in your paintings. And then once you've got used to how they work, because they create extraordinary patterns, you start to colorize them, if there's such a thing. You start to put color in them. And so you get this different variation. So there's some variation in my shadow shapes that are coming out. Anyway, I'm expanding on that. I'm growing so much in what I'm doing. So I'm adding some Naples yellow to the blue, and this is still a shadow shape, but it's got a different tone to it. So you can, it's sort of like the next step. I could do another video on it, of how this whole thing develops. Now, I want to have this stepped. I want that to be different to the shadow shape that's going to come in. So I'm actually going to change this is ultramarine. And I want, because there's other colors in this, I'm going to drop in some browns. And I'm painting around the shapes. I know I'm doing that, but it's still the theory of the shadow shapes. And then I'm going to put in a bit of a purpley blue into the back of this one in here. And there'll be some white shapes through here. Oh, I know what I just thought of. See, the story is talking to me, and
What's
as
it
I'm
saying?
going through it. Pardon?
Barbara, Barbara.
Yeah, it is. It is. It's
leave
saying,
me.
we're saying boats, boats. So I'm putting in some sailboats back in the distance here. This is the Oakland estuary, right?
Yeah.
Now I can take my tissue out, lift that up, or I can lift it another way. But now I'm going to paint around. So I've gone and given you in my story something even more interesting to look forward to or look through to, which is that area there. With the sky, I'm going to put I know this is Naples yellow. I'm putting it on at a pretty intense level, but I'm just going to drag it up. Oh, I just love doing this. I could do this all day long. So here we are. It's wet, and so it's exploding. So I'm making it maybe 5 o'clock in the afternoon, something like that. I'm just going to wet the top of the page here. Of course, this is painting over a pretty heavy drawing, but I want this light. I'm going to bring this area to be warmer and more intense in my yellow, so that the sun is over here. No, that's not right. Then you have to start to talk to yourself and say, okay, so if my sun source was here, yeah, okay, my sun is sinking over in here. That's okay. That'll work. Make sure that your storyline is straight. Okay, so let's present the water. So far away, it's going to be lighter. If I had my paper sitting on an angle, all these washes would be dropping down. So now I'm going to just let this come in. This is pretty pale. These are your background washes. Preserve your whites, which is there. This will be a mother color in here.
Barbara,
Yes.
we're out of time.
We're out of time already.
I know.
That's okay. I think that gets the gist across. All right, Eric, any other things?
Yeah, come on camera so everybody can see your smiling face.
Oh, all right. Can you hold
Hello,
2 seconds?
India. Thank you for watching today. Everybody, thank you for tuning in. Okay. Well, there's Barbara Tapp right there.
Well, thanks for coming and being with me on my morning today.
I want to tell your story real quickly. We first met at
Fall Color Week.
Right. We became friends there. We painted together. And here you are, what, 5 years later, 7 years later?
At least 7. I did go to the convention in Monterey, but I did not meet you.
Yeah.
There.
Okay. But here we are. I mean, you're instructing. You have a new video out. So all because you went to Fall Color Week, which is pretty cool.
It is true, and I still don't think that I really knew you there, the first one, because you didn't know many watercolorists. I don't think at that point, and there weren't many of us who were watercolorists in the group. But that's where you first saw my work, and then when I came the next year, then we really connected. Yeah.
Well, thank you, and congratulations on your new video. It's really fabulous. It's doing very well. It's the Barbara Tapp watercolor method, and that's available at painttube.tv, where we have over 600 high quality instructional videos. Barbara, thank you for doing this today, and we will see you on Essentials Day at Watercolor Live.
Thanks, Eric. This was fun. I really enjoyed it, and
thank you.
Happy holidays to you and
thank
to everybody. You. And hi to everyone out there. I love seeing you and talking to you in the mornings. Well, I don't see you, but thanks, Eric, very much.
Okay, Barbara, thank you. Well, we're just one big happy family here. We all just kind of get to know each other, and it's been so wonderful. Gosh, I mean, there are just hundreds. We've done. I haven't calculated it, but we've been on this show. We started this show about 5 or 6 days into the first COVID lockdowns, and we've been doing it ever since. We did it 7 days a week for 7 months, and then we backed off to 5 days a week. We still are doing it. Not every day is live now. We try to do at least 3 days a week live, and then we do replays. But we have a lot of fun, and we're glad that you're here. If you're tuning in for the first time, just give us a follow on YouTube. Just subscribe there, and you can just look up Art School Live, and also give me a follow on social media at Eric Rhodes. I appreciate that. And remember, we have a Christmas spectacular extravaganza coming up on Thursday at noon. It's going to roll at least a couple hours. So just tell your boss you're quitting your job for the day, and just join us. We're going to have a lot of fun. We're going to have 7 or 10 different artists on. We got about 40 prizes worth over $5,000. So we're going to do some big things. We also have some big adventures. Fall Color Week is coming up. This year, it's going to be in Monterey and Carmel. We're staying at a Silomar. And so join us for that week. That will sell out early. It always does, especially this last year. Just go to fallcolorweek.com. And then I have another event in the Adirondacks. Anyway, thanks for tuning in, guys. I'm Eric Rhodes. We will see you tomorrow. Bye-bye.